Hey guys, so you want to get started making junk journals. I thought I would show you my small little corner desk. It's in my bedroom. We live on a very small house in the country, and this is where I'm able to sit down away from my husband and other distractions and create junk journals. So I've only been at this for a couple of months, but I can show you the supplies and some of the tools that I've collected since I've started this junk journal journey. This is a basket where I keep a lot of my tea and coffee stained paper. There's YouTube videos on how to do that. It's a very easy process. I always keep scrap here to run some stitches before I sew a tag or sew into the journal itself, just to make sure that the stitches are what I want. And I also keep something where I use the crocodile for the grommets before I actually use them where I want to use them, just to make sure that everything, as you can see here, something went awry. So anyway, I like to do a few test ones before I actually do it for the journal. Here I have a couple of different glues. I have used 3-in-1 glue before. It is pricey, as is the Fabric High Tack glue. Both are good for or this is good for fabric and paper, but I've also ordered this Eileen's Original Tacky glue. I got a 3-pack on Amazon for like $11 Canadian. I don't have any supply stores near where I am, so a lot of my supplies I have to order from Amazon, or the nearest craft store is Michael's, and that's about an hour and a half away. So I've got this little, I don't know what I was using this before for, but right now it's for my junk journal stuff. I've got all of my washi tapes in there. I don't have any ribbon, so I purchased these at Walmart just for a couple of dollars each. They're binding. I've used them to make the top of a bookmark that I was making. I've got this tool here, again, ordered from Amazon. When you're doing anything vintage on a junk journal, you want to be able to use the, I use Tim Holtz Vintage Photo ink just to go around the edges, just to make them look like they're aged. They come with different pads that just come on and off with Velcro. So I've got that there. I've got a Fabricland, the next town from me, and I was able to pick up this for $3.89 Canadian, which is super cheap. It did include a bookbinder needle in there, which works wonderfully for attaching the signatures to the spine. I've also got the thread for my sewing machine and some black wax thread for my signatures. And I also, it's not necessary, but I just had this because I had joined, or I was going to join quilt making class, and I never did, but I bought the tool. So this is super sharp. It has a protective blade on it, and it cuts really well. Speaking of threads, I do use the waxed thread. What I find is that it's great for not ripping your papers when you're sewing the signatures together. I guess the wax prevents that, and it's also it's stiff, but it's very durable and pliable, so it works really well for me. And again, I ordered that from Amazon. I know that some people do use embroidery thread, and it works well for them. So I'm just showing you what works well for me. I've got some scraps here that I've used, and I haven't really found a place for because, of course, my space is rather limited. But I wanted to show you, I picked this up, this watercolor paper from Walmart, and I can't remember how much it was. Oh, $10 or so. But it's super thick. I use it for tags. It makes them more durable. You know, with the journal tags, you're taking them in and out of the journal all the time, and you want something that's going to be sturdy, and I find that that watercolor paper works really well. I do have some Mod Podge back here. I have done a little bit of decoupage with some napkins that I ordered from Etsy. And here I just keep all my little scraps, so they're kind of handy for me just to grab if I'm making tags. And here I have an envelope maker. It's made by We Are Memory Keepers. I got it from Michael's, and I watched some YouTube videos on how to use this, and I just fell in love with the concept. It's not something that you need for junk journaling, but I'll show you an example, if I can find it in here, of what I was able to do with it. Here it is. I just took some cardstock paper and made this envelope so you can open it up and journal inside. And I've rounded the corners. So it makes all kinds of different sizes, and I really love it. Again, I don't use it that often, but when I do want to make an envelope, then I know that I have something. It also comes with one of the, what are they called, bone, like a bone stick, just for rubbing down and making sure that everything is flat. Now, I go to the local thrift store and I purchase books for like $1, and I gut them, and this is what I use for making my junk journals. You can certainly make your own covers with thick cardboard or even cookie boxes. I've seen that done as well, but I like to use old books. One, it gives me a sense that I'm, you know, recycling and repurposing. And secondly, it's just much easier, I find. So you just gut the book there, and you've got a blank slate for your creativity. And I mean, you can pick up books for as low as $0.25. So it's very affordable. And what I've done here is when I gutted my mini junk journal cover, I used a small book that I had, and what I use this for now is for creating holes when you're sewing the signature in, and you have to make holes in the signature for the needle to go through. So, you know, that's a nice thick pad, and I'm also, you know, recycling. Let me see. I've got some napkins up here. Again, they're not a necessity, but I like using them. There's all kinds of different napkins that you can use for scrapbooking. You can pick them up either retail or on Etsy, as I did. Here's my Crop-A-Dial. That's Crop-A-Dial. I picked it up from Winners, or not Winners, sorry, Michael's, and I used a 40% off coupon. So I think it was just under $20 Canadian with the coupon. But it's also made by We Are Memory Keepers, and that allows me to make holes, putting grommets in. It works really well, and it does different sizes as well. It's got 2 different sizes of hole punch. That's the larger one. This is a smaller one. And again, there's YouTube videos on how to use this tool. It's quite easy. I've got duct tape for the inside of my spine. Once I take out the whatchamacallit, the book itself, I put duct tape down. It just gives that reinforcement that's important. This was a surprise purchase, actually. It's a Singer Simple. I've never owned a sewing machine before in my life. I've never sewn in my life, but I'm having a lot of fun. This is a very great machine to buy, especially if you're a beginner like I am. I think I picked that up at Canadian Tire for a little over $100 when it was on sale. I've got my lighting, of course, and a few tools. In hindsight, I don't know if I would have purchased this again, but I did see it a lot in YouTube videos that I was watching. After you glue something, you roll it down, presses it down. Do I use it? Yes, I use it. Is it necessary? Not entirely. I've got pins here, and I've also got, and I can't remember, I've had this for years, but it's got these clips and paper clips in it. These clips are mandatory if you're going to be attaching signatures, sewing them. You need something to clip those signature papers together while you're sewing. Otherwise, it could be a catastrophe. So I've got that. I do some stamping. I enjoy it. Again, not mandatory, but it's another option. Oh, there's a chicken feather. So what I use is the Tim Holtz line of the distressed inks. They come in multiple colors. There's another one of those tools there. And I've got some ink pads that I purchased. That was a purchase from Michaels. This was Michaels as well. Oops. That was Michaels. And on Etsy, and I tend to shop there a lot as well, check out Newlybird. Her stuff, her stamps are just amazing, and I'm really happy with the quality with that. And I can't remember where oh, that might have been a Michaels purchase as well. Also, what's not on my desk that I tend to use a lot are baby wipes, just the non-scented baby wipes. So when I'm doing some stamping, I've got the baby wipes, and you just, you know, immediately take off the ink. It just, you know, keeps them nice and clean. And these I purchased from Etsy as well. And this I got from Newlybird. Just as a bonus. It was a pleasant surprise to receive that when I ordered the rabbit stamp. I've got fabric here I bought from Fabricland. What I find is that this is a really thin fabric, and if you watched my very first video of the nature junk journal that I made for myself, I used this material for the inside, attaching the hidden spine signatures to the spine on the inside. And unfortunately, it's a very thin fabric, and I didn't realize, I guess I had maybe put too much glue, and it being a thin fabric, I think it just kind of, you know, it just leaked through, and it was kind of disappointing. But again, the journal was for myself, and it was my very first one. So what I've done is I've purchased, again from Amazon, Heat and Bond. I haven't used it as of yet. It just arrived this week. But from my understanding, you cut what you need, you iron it on onto the fabric, and then it just makes it that much thicker so that the chances of the glue bleeding through are minimal. Again, I haven't used it. I saw it on a YouTube video. I can't remember who had mentioned it, but also in a couple of Facebook groups that I belong to, they recommended it as well. So I'm looking forward to using that. So when you are at a fabric store and you're not getting a canvas, a nice thick material, you might want to consider doing you know, something similar to this heat and bond, and it should make a difference. I've got a printer I picked up at Walmart. It's a Canon. I got it for like $34 just before Christmas. It's a full colored printer. I think it's got a fax on it as well, which, I mean, I'm not going to be using. But anyhow, I'm really, really happy. Oh, it's a little dusty. I'm really happy with the quality of the prints that it uses. Very easy, you know, to learn. I mean, I'm not tech savvy at all, so I just mention this for those people who, you know, are afraid to get something that looks fancy. It actually is very easy to understand, and that is a Canon MX 432. I think they retail for a little over $100. And I picked this stand-up from a woman on Kijiji, and I've got somewhat organized my papers. And if you're a scrapbooker, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. How on earth do I organize all of my paper? So I think I found a system that works. You know, each drawer has something different in it. The bottom drawer, let me see if I can open it up here. It just has things that I think might be interesting that I can use. The rare occasion that I've purchased a dessert, I threw that in. I don't know what sorry about that, that's my cat litter. I don't know what I can use that for, but it may come in handy if I need that. And I've got some birch bark in here. Kind of, this is like my miscellaneous drawer. All right. I've got my pile of books here, which I will be making a video. If anybody is interested in doing a nature junk journal, I can show you the books that I use. The imagery is outstanding, especially if you're doing that kind of theme. And I think the last thing I want to show you is I've got these drawers up here. I just kind of decoupaged a bit. But I've got... Now this was really important because as you start, you know, creating junk journals, you want to have kind of a stash and a place where everything is all in one spot. And I've got my grommets here. I've got the buttons that I ordered from Etsy. And these I picked up from Walmart. Tim Holtz stuff. I've got all my charms here. And I've got the Tim Holtz banner tags, metal tags. And if you've seen my first video, you'll see that I've included that in there. These rings here are for attaching charms. Yeah, grommets. All kinds of different keys. Book corners that I have on my junk journal. This is the one that I made for myself. And I've got these, and I can't remember what they're called. They're clasps of some sort. Tim Holtz carries them, and you put the smaller end on the back of the book, and it clips on to a chain that you have in the front. Like this. There's the chain on the front, and there's the clasp there. They come in two different sizes. There's a small and a large. So to have everything organized, you know, in one spot is really handy. I picked, well, actually my husband picked this up for me. I guess in the fishing section where the tackle boxes were. and from Canadian Tire, and I think he paid around $10 for that, so it wasn't expensive. This is, oh, let me see. These are all my embroidery threads. And no, I am not responsible for how well they're organized and color-coded. I actually bought this from a woman on Kijiji. I guess she was no longer cross-stitching. And I'm glad that I have it. I haven't cross-stitched in an awfully long time, but I'm finding that having these threads are super handy. And especially if you choose to bind your signatures together with the embroidery tape. So anyhow, I think that's about it. That's my creative space, some of the supplies that I have. And if you have any questions, please ask me in the comment section below. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful. Bye-bye.